Polling that is on across 39 constituencies out of the remaining 79, which is in the second phase for Assam today. This is with respect to the big issues on the voters' mind, particularly the areas that we're looking at that go to polls. This is the Barak Valley here. This is the Bengali-dominated area here. And it is a test for the pro-CAA sentiment who are in support of it here. This is, of course, directly in contrast to what we'd seen in phase one, which was for the other area, the Brahmaputra Valley here, which had a very strong anti-CAA sentiment. But apart from that, apart from CAA being a huge issue for voters because this directly impacts their lives, impacts employment, livelihood here as well, it is a turnout of 63.04% so far that has been seen, reported at 8 p.m. Our correspondent Afrida is getting us, I beg your pardon, that was a voter turnout reported at 4 p.m. just a short while back. Afrida is getting us further inputs here, who has, of course, been on ground of the past 1 week, getting in various voters' voices, speaking to youngsters, speaking to women in the area and the constituencies that go to polls today here. Afrida, apart from CAA, which, of course, is very strongly dominating the discourse, as has been ever since the law was passed in Parliament here. But what about everyday issues and their expectations? This is, of course, with respect to security, with respect to employment for the youth.
Yes. Yes, so I had a talk with young students, and which will, of course, be aired as well. And they have certain issues. You know, there is an anger over the CAA. Remember, 5 young men lost their life in the CAA movement. That anger is there in the urban youth. But when you go to the rural youth, like I was today in the interior parts of central districts of Assam, in Nalbari, in Mongoldoy, and right now I'm in Kamalpur, which is in the Kamrup district. The rural youth, it seems, they are satisfied with the kind of schemes that they are getting covered with. There's a lot of financial assistance to college goers, so and reflect that sentiment. Whereas the urban youth, if you will visit, will tell you, okay, you may have given cylinders, but you have increased the LPG gas. Colleges and universities, they will tell you more about the price rise. They will prices, so you know it just negates each other out. So that kind of thing is what you will hear from the urban youth. When you asked about women, yes, again, women, a similar thing. With the rural women, it seems, where I went to, even say in the upper Assam districts, it's the same story. They seem to be happy with the kind of new benefits they are getting. But then there is again a very important distinction that has to be made with the demography here, that, you know, the identity politics is also very much alive. So people are concerned about preserving the local Assamese culture and heritage, and that has been a poll pitch from both the sides. The BJP claims to be the protectee of the Assamese heritage and culture, and to that, of course, in fact, I asked this question to one of the BJP MPs, that since you claim to be the protectees, how is it that you want to implement CAA? Because remember, Seher, and I want to remind this again to our viewers, there isn't much clarity on this, why this is more significant in Assam, because it is a law for the entire country. The important thing to remember is that the cutoff for Assam was anyway 1971, whereas for the rest of India it was 1951. So then to push it way back to 2014 for Assam, which has already accommodated a lot of so-called foreigners after the Bangladesh partition, people feel is unfair. But then the educated and enlightened lot is also very limited, who know the real politics. How much will that vote matter? The middle class, yes, I would say, is angry with the price rise, with the LPG price rise, gas price rise, the commodity price rise, petrol price rise. So these are the things they will tell you. But generally across the demography, people do say about Banpani Samasya, the flood situation. It doesn't seem like successive governments have been able to address it. And it's almost like people have learned to accept it as part of their lives, which is so sad, that they expect the floods to come, they expect all the devastation to destroy their home and property, and they rebuild. But it shouldn't be that way. There has to be some sustained program initiated to address, the flood devastation issue. People talk about Nibonua Samasya, which is the unemployment. The young men in the villages are happy doing their small businesses. They're getting financial assistance. The rest of the lot are happy doing their little farming. So it didn't seem to me like there was major discontent. But yes, their parents will tell you that we want jobs for our children. And within the family, again, Seher, there is again a very interesting mix. you will
Right.
often find that the younger lot may not follow the voting pattern of their seniors, which again goes to show that it may not be a good idea to go purely with the demography and look at the politics like that.
As far as the discontentment is what you noticed or what the voters have, this is of course with respect to cooking gas, LPG becoming unaffordable now, despite those who were enjoying could avail subsidized rates, inflation here, fuel prices. A lot of this, of course, Afrida, is directly connected to the central government, the central BJP government's functioning and schemes. Is that a means of directly hitting out against the state BJP? Is that being entirely blamed on the state BJP? Because a lot of this, of course, is controlled by the central government.
Yes, it would. Yes, that's right. But, for the people on ground, remember, this is a state election and people have very close contact in many parts of Assam with their Bidhayak, with their local MLA. People go to the local MLA with their problems. And somehow they also have this belief that the local MLA is supposed to take care of their issues, their immediate issues. So in that sense, but then again, the parties have been very smart wherever they felt, at least the BJP has done that, wherever they felt there is a whiff of anti-incumbency or discontentment against the MLA, they have changed those candidates. So like you rightly pointed out, the anger is against, the issues. They are not concerned whether this is coming from the center or the state. That detail is not clear in the people's minds. What I also want to tell you here is that, on ground, if you talk to people, they are much more, they may not know their Lok Sabha MP, but they're very aware of the track record of their MLAs, of their Vidhayaks, whether they have looked after their concerns or not. So in that sense, this is a very interesting democratic process where people are exercising their franchise and they will be choosing the leader who they believe will be their voice in the Assam Assembly. And in that sense, I found the women voters very aware of this aspect.
Afrida, I appreciate you getting those voices of voters as we've seen through the week and getting us, in fact, updates here on Phase 2 as well. Let's now switch focus of what's happened